Got it.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you'll meet some of the most talented, intelligent, and creative people who come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. My guests come from many industries that include education, music, television, theater, fashion, culinary arts, hospitality, health and wellness, and so much more. This is part 2 of my conversation with my guest, David Roach. David, welcome.
Hi, Kelly. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yes. This is really good. I'm excited about having this part 2 with you. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, let me give you a little bit about David. He's a former point guard, leadoff man, and all-time quarterback. David is a graduate of Morehouse College. He's the co-founder of the Familyhood Connection, also known as Mo Better Food, the Oakland Film Society, also known as the Oakland International Film Festival. Also, he's an author of The Adventures of Hotep. So David, talk to me about this. You were swinging the bat. What was that all about?
That's the leadoff man. You know, I was number one, and that was I batted first. So that's the leadoff man. So I was giving a visual. I was giving you the people a visual, and then I was point guard, for our basketball team, and then, I could play all-time quarterback in the neighborhood, and basically all those things are to say that that I've enjoyed starting off things and trying to grow them, and so that's what those organizations have been about. Mo Better Food, working with African-American farmers here in California, bringing them to the Bay Area years ago. And then the film festival, which this will be our 20th year of the festival. But, we started with our own film years ago, and then we were able to be in different film festivals. And then we decided to start the Oakland International Film Festival.
So David, in my first interview, we did talk about your vision of the Familyhood Connection and your Do Now strategy. And you can find that interview on my YouTube channel, Straight Talking with Kelly. It is episode number 31. So now we're going to talk about his 20th Oakland International Film Festival that's taking place on September 15th through the 24th this year. So that's going to be exciting. So David, what is the difference between the Oakland Film Society and the Oakland International Film Festival?
Well, the Film Society hosts events year-round, and it presents the Oakland International Film Festival, which is once a year. And so it's really more the organization presents this particular event. So they're really pretty much both the same, but just that the Film Society will host other things throughout the year, in addition to the film festival.
So in 2002, the first Oakland International Film Festival took place at the Grand Lake Theater. What was that like? And what were some of the other sites where the festival has been held?
Wow. Woo, what was that like? 2002. 2002 was like bringing your babies to the movie theater for us, because now they're both one graduates from college and one is in college now. And we were just jumping from hosting screenings from even our own film, Sydney Bird, Private Eye. And we were started screening other people's films here in the Bay Area. And then we said, wait a minute, now it's time to start this film festival. And so in those days, there was no internet. We had, I remember submissions were coming in via videotapes, cassettes like VHSs. And so we had to go through all those films. We had, different students working with us from different schools. We had like a summer program with students who were interested in, just really working in the summer, and they were helping us organize some things. And it was, the Grand Lake Theater has been one of our main venues over the years. It's a historical Grand Lake Theater, which is right near the Lake Merritt, which is really the heart of Oakland. And we also host screenings at the Jack London Square Regal Theater, which is a international chain. We host screenings at Holy Names University, who, they're one of our partners, the Oakland Museum, Jeffrey's Inner Circle. We host screenings in San Leandro Performing Arts Center, the Black Repertoire Theater, the Parkway, New Parkway Theater. We've hosted, screenings, let's see, at outdoor screenings at Jack London Square, in the grass area, museums, the libraries, and other places as well.
Well, I know that you've had some places here in San Francisco as well, especially working with Jackie Wright, who
That's right.
I say is your publicist, but that's not your publicist. You call her more than that.
Yes, Jackie Wright is a I pretty much work for Jackie Wright. I think I might have mentioned that to you. Jackie Wright tells you you're supposed to be doing this, and you just say okay, and you just start to work, but it's a beautiful thing because she always has the right intention. So she always, so it's not like you have to second guess her. You're like, okay, because Jackie is like the heart of community. And so it's always been an honor to work with Jackie.
Definitely a visionary where she can see stuff that we don't see. And then
and a beacon of justice as well, because she understands that we're supposed to have certain things and be at a certain place. And so and she has a great way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like she just has a way of saying, you should be here. We should reach that person. And so you just go, okay, well, let's make that happen. So
absolutely. So now tell me, you kind of touched on it just a tad bit, but I want to go into it a little bit more about the film that you produced with the Roach brothers. And what was the vision of Sydney Bird?
The vision of Sydney Bird was to make a hit film that we could we would never have to work again.
Isn't that the dream?
Exactly. And then we'd be in the in the big lights and all that, and the movie stars, and then you would have
action, light, cameras.
And you wouldn't be able to call me directly. You would have to, have a secretary and all that kind of stuff.
Your people call my people.
Exactly. That was the whole idea. That was the idea. It didn't happen that way, but it was the idea. It was an original script that my brother Paul had written, who was working at the time. He was working with Mario Van Peebles in New Jack City. He assisted Mario Van Peebles, directed that film. And then he had also had a national stage play called Telling It Like It Is. And so he was carrying this script around, and it was like, man, we got to make our own movie. And I had just finished Morehouse, and then we, we're like, hey, now's a great time. And our brother Mac, who's a doctor at UCSF, he was like, hey, let's do this. So we all made it happen, and we got some offers with the film. We just didn't, and that was also part of the time period, as you mentioned, with 2002 with the film festival. The film got into film festivals, and it was really when the seed was planted that it would be really, really cool if we could host something like this film festival in Oakland. And so that was sort of like when the seed was sort of, planted, that we could, and part of that was from the experience that we had, the way that we were accommodated by the festival directors. And we were like, hey, this is really benefiting the filmmaker by being a part of this film festival, in that when we were promoting Sydney Bird Private Eye, that meant that we had to purchase, rent a movie theater. And then we had to, do all the publicity and try to find the right people that would come out and see the film, because we're trying to attract a distributor. And as you know, every day you work on your thing, the cost kind of goes up because you got to pay certain bills, et cetera. And it became like, wow, it costs some money to rent a good theater and to get the marketing. And then you got your friends in the theater, but you don't have necessarily all the right people because you don't have really the big names that would drive the people to really take your film seriously. And so it was, so that was, so by having it in a film festival, like the Pan-African Film Festival, then they had the theater already for, they already, and they had a whole marketing campaign. So we could just go down there to LA and people were packed up seeing our film. And we knew all the punchlines and we were hoping they would laugh at a certain scene. And so we were like, wow, this is really cool. And then one day I was driving from San Francisco to Oakland, which I've done, a million times before. And the sign said, "Welcome to Oakland." And I said, "Oakland International Film Festival." And that was really the beginning of that's when the idea kind of came, but it was also because felt it was a need for us to do something that would promote, filmmakers in the city of Oakland.
What a wonderful thing, having that experience yourself. So that's the beauty, is that you know what it takes to get a film produced and marketed. And to be able to start a film festival that gives other people the same opportunity, that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing.
It really is. And, and the simple fact that, and so as we get more into the interview, we'll talk a little bit more about that opportunity, how it will reach out, how you'll reach out to other filmmakers to get them to be exposed to your film.
Yes.
So David, in the last 2 years, during the global pandemic, the COVID pandemic, you had to make adjustments by canceling your in-person events and streaming films from your website, hosting parties. So what was all of that like? What was all of that like?
Well, it was, it was a very, it's a lot. Of course, we all have been going through this pandemic around the world. And so to a large extent, it was, I think we all thought it was going to be here and then gone. You know what I mean? And then we would be able to resume. We're like, wait a minute, this thing is still happening. You know what I mean? And so our event takes place in September. And I can just remember, planning to attend Sundance Film Festival, which is in January. And all of a sudden, this coronavirus comes out in the news. And then I believe Sundance either canceled or it didn't really get the audience like it really expected to. But other big festivals were just, in February, March, were just canceling their event. And so we had a little time being in September to really kind of see what the options were. And we were also looking at this format of Zoom that we're on right now and having the conversation and seeing how we could still try and, succeed at promoting our mission of promoting independent filmmakers and the stories that they tell. With these conversations, we had to, but then we also moved into streaming films, which was very different for us because, it was the whole in-person thing was, you show a movie in the theater, and you get in the same room with people, and it's just really the whole networking experience was something that you can't really get through the virtual world. So 2 years ago, it was, the transition to the virtual. Last year, it appeared that we were going to be able to get rid of this coronavirus around this time last year. And then all of a sudden the numbers started spiking up again. But we found that it's best to be outdoors with this virus. And so we decided to host outdoor screenings in addition to having the films streamed. And the beautiful part about it was that our analytics were showing that people in China, Korea, Africa, and other places were actually viewing the films. And so, and that's really kind of what we've been really trying to push more since, is that connection between, you know, even Oakland filmmakers being able to have their films seen by somebody in India, you know, somebody, because you couldn't, before it was this, you had to be in the movie theater to see the film, but now you could watch the film on your own couch, right? And many people have gotten into that rhythm, you know, as of late, because prior to COVID, the habits of movie going to theaters was kind of on a major decline. If you look at the theaters prior to, they've been suffering quite a bit because people just don't spend, you know, $15 for a movie ticket, you know, $10 for some popcorn, and then, you know, you know, $10 for some soda pop, right? And instead they could just be at home and see the movie on their computer, you know. And so we were able to bring that experience, and we're kind of happy with that. And we're sort of looking forward to having more of a hybrid this year of having, you know, the option where you could see the film online, but then hopefully we can get this thing down where we could be in the movie theater as well.
Yeah, and so that's what my next question to you is, what can we expect for the 20th Film Festival this year? And you just kind of laid it out a little bit, but
a little bit. We're still at that. I think we're on the fence right now because the numbers are going up again, and now they're telling people that you can fly, you don't have to worry about putting on masks. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you saying? Like, yes. Tell those people to put on a mask.
Yeah.
You know, and so I have a feeling that we're gonna have. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm hoping that we can, you know, be done with this, and so that people can experience the true Oakland International Film Festival by being here in Oakland, and, you know, carrying that backpack with you. You know, like we can start early in the day, have some panel discussions, meet some filmmakers at a local restaurant, you know, and then they tell you, hey, my movie is this movie, and then you go out and see their movie, and then you get a chance to see them the next day if you're around. And so we kind of want this experience where it becomes like a pedestrian sort of thing, where we look for like clusters, in a sense, of where you could walk door to door and see a movie showing, a conversation happening. And we think these, you know, and these things kind of help build our economy, you know, by having, you know, local restaurants being showcased. And that's pretty much the vibe that we try to promote here in Oakland. And it's something that most festivals actually do. Like Sundance does it really big. They have a main street, and everything kind of happens on Main Street. And you know, but we've been really, in a sense, kind of different because we try to highlight some of the smaller businesses, you know, places in Chinatown, like really bringing out some diversity in places that typically might not be a part of a film festival, you know, but sometimes they're eager to, you know, promote their business and to offer food and different things. And we're excited to showcase them. Awesome.
So you're building that community.
That's what we really want to do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, and it takes time for that kind of stuff to happen. And then, like you said, with the mixed messages that we're getting about the pandemic, makes it very difficult in terms of, okay, how do I move forward? But, you know, we just have to stay hopeful because people are acting like it's over.
Exactly. I mean, you can only act so long, you know what I mean?
Well, but they're doing it. They're actually doing it.
One day you don't feel good. I mean, you can't act too much longer, but but like you said, there are places that that have closed that we've worked with over the years. And that's been very hard for us as we transition into planning this year, you know, because we were always pretty much able to just say, hey, y'all ready to go again? And they say, yeah, we ready to go again. But now y'all ain't y'all no more, because they're not there anymore. Their place has been closed down. We work with like various venues around Jack London Square. They're now closed. And so so we've been sort of going around the town and seeing what Oakland looks like now. We're working on a brand called Rediscover Oakland as a way to highlight some of the changes and hopefully use film as a way to bring out that you could see Oakland once again, like rediscover Oakland once again.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so what type of films do you seek for the film festival? What's that process like?
The process is we have a statement in our there's a company called Film Freeway, which takes which filmmakers, film festivals use as a platform to view films and to have folks who are judges or to view the films. And it makes it pretty easy for a filmmaker to upload their film, submit their synopsis, their poster image. And so we collect them, we review them. And in our statement, we always here in Oakland, we really look for films that are going to inspire, promote, social justice, films that actually speak for voices oftentimes not heard. We look for films that are really, spoken by the people who are, sometimes you have a film, it's made about a group of people, but it's like, hey man, how you know about those people? You don't even know the people, you know what I mean? And so, and as you know, being African-American, oftentimes you have these stereotypes that come out with people who make films about us, but they're not really made, by us.
Right,
and so
exactly.
We feel like it's important to really, have an authentic voice in speaking, truth to power. We're big on some documentary films. We've had some films that really tell stories about, like last year, we had a really big film that was dealing with the bombing in World War II in Japan. And it was really held back for so long, this film, like they wouldn't release it until, I don't know how the filmmaker got a hold of it, but it was devastating, but but it's the kind of film that we need to see, because as we're in this war, even right now with Ukraine, yes, people don't realize what that looks like how this just devastates communities. Yes. Yes. And so, I mean, you have places where when we did that atomic bomb in Japan, you had, places where that radiation came through so fast that you could see the shadows in the ground of where people once stood. Wow. I mean, it was just, horrific. And it's these kind of, things should not be happening. It should not in a civilization if we are civil, right? Right. And so, so then we also have some up and coming filmmakers who just have a short film, like I remember just a film, father and a son was really taking classes at home for the pandemic, couldn't go to school. And it was just kind of like a little short documentary about, well, actually it was kind of a documentary, kind of like a docudrama, where they were just kind of talking about like how he couldn't get with his friends, how depressed the kid was getting, staying home, the parents were working at home. And so, but it was like, that person's first film. And so yeah. we kind of try to have a balance of films that are locally made, that, talk about local issues, but then also we try to find films that are international, which actually show you that, we're humans all over the world.
Absolutely. Now, when you were talking about that, I thought about Jackie's film that she did which I thought was really, when she told me she was doing this, I didn't believe her, number one, until I actually saw it, where she exhumed her mom and dad out of their graves so they could be buried together in the army base where she was, where her father was a decorated military person.
Yes.
So it was just a beautiful film that she did, and she got a lot of acclaim for it. And, she's still promoting that. And did she show it at your place? Did she show it through your Oakland Film Festival?
No, she showed another film related to her father being in the military, and I think he went through some issue with the military. That was some years ago.
Oh, but
So
she
that was
didn't
her.
show the one where where she had her both parents exhumed so they can
I
be
haven't seen
buried
that one.
together?
You know, Jackie has all kind of things in her
Oh my God.
pocket. You probably forgot. You know, she's
Well, yeah, so maybe I'll have
yeah,
her reach out
yeah,
to you so she can submit it for this
exactly,
time. Yeah, so
exactly.
no, that would be beautiful. So now, as we're talking about that, I asked the kind of films that you seek. So you have added a couple of new categories in 2022.
Hmm.
And I remember one is called The Best of Town, Made in Our Town,
Hmm.
Familyhood. Tell me about those different categories, the new categories.
Okay, well, the Made in the Town is a category that is the films that we're receiving in that category is someone saying that this film that we made is really represents our community, and this is who we are, this is what we're going through, and so we put that category hoping that that filmmakers would feel connected, that their community needs to be seen outside of their community. And then the Familyhood was a way for us to really, once again, to kind of promote the idea of familyhood, which is, every school having, student government, PTA, and alumni working together. That's what we call familyhood. But also just how schools can really empower communities. And so we were hoping, so we haven't really received like submissions of that quite yet. We're just kind of putting it out there. And we're hoping that filmmakers would see it and say, hey, this is something that we could do in our community, that they see value in familyhood. We also have another category called Feed the Planet. And that category was really created because we were looking at the geological agriculture. Mr. Richard Campbell out of DC area came up with this book called Stones Grow Plants. That's in Barnes and Nobles, and he's now working with Morehouse College and other colleges. He's just featured in Forbes, but growing food using rocks instead of soil. And so we were able to then show, this was last year, we showed like 18 films, short films of student projects showing how youth in Dominican Republic, in Korea, in Addis Ababa were actually using rocks to grow plants. And so we were excited to create the category and hoping that could help promote people to learn more about geological agriculture. As you know, we have a major problem with food insecurity all over the world.
Absolutely.
And geoag is a really good way to grow indoors as well as outdoors.
It's amazing. So now, are you in touch with the different colleges and universities and the high schools with drama departments to get them involved with what you're doing?
Some of them, and it sometimes over the last couple of years, it's been really difficult because the schools are, you just can't even really go to schools anymore because they've been trying to reduce the traffic of people to keep this pandemic down, right? And then also you have so many people who work from home that you can go to school, look for a professor, and the professor is no longer there, so it's a little bit more difficult. But we have worked with some schools where we can find a film professor and we say, hey, submit your films. You don't have to worry about paying a fee. We want to get films from Florida State University. We want to see films from San Francisco State University. And we've been able to attract films and then they help promote the festival. So there is some, Expressions College helped put together some of our trailers to promote the film festival. Fremont High School is a high school here in Oakland, which has a film school. So they've helped put together some projects with us as well. So, but it happens kind of organically. Sometimes it's somebody that we may know. But it's something that we can definitely, hopefully when this pandemic ends, we can, get back and turn over every stone.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, so does music videos count for
That they
submission?
do. Oh, we got some really good music videos this year.
Okay,
Too.
okay.
Have you heard of Fantastic Negrito, the artist?
Yes.
Okay, because he has an
Yes.
amazing video that he just submitted. I just looked at, and when you said, I was like, yeah, we got some. But we've always had music videos. We've also worked with like Hip Hop TV and some other folks to kind of promote them to to kind of look for artists to promote. There's a bridge there with music and film, where you have we've had some really good panels on it. Folks who want to learn about scoring for films. So quite a few
Nice.
musicians want to do that, want to have that experience, and so it's great to have them all in the same room, talking about music and film, and music videos are kind of like that bridge that help that
Absolutely.
conversation.
Now, so that as soon as you said that, I'm thinking, oh my God, well, that would be a wonderful virtual panel to do.
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh man, I
Definitely.
would like to be in that one. That would
Right.
be awesome. That is,
I didn't know
yeah.
you got you do music too.
No, I don't, but
Okay.
well, you know
Can
what?
you sing? Can you sing?
Well, no, but you know what? I do artist development where I
Okay.
actually help artists get their act
Oh,
together.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
anyways, that's a
There
whole
you
nother
go.
stuff. So, but
Okay.
so I'm definitely music connect. You know, I was actually on the board of governors with the Recording Academy with the Grammys.
I can't keep it with all the things.
Well, yeah. So
Miss
yeah. So I
Kelly
do have
Armstrong. I can't,
that
what I mean?
music
But
thing
no, but
going on.
I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me the slightest. But yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So now tell me this, what does the film submission and screening process entail? I know you talked about it a little bit with the freeway thing, but what are the dates? Do you have deadlines for these
We
submissions
have a
or how does
deadline.
that work?
You have an early bird deadline, which passed a couple of months ago. We have a late deadline, which is the 25th of this month. And then we have a late deadline, which is sometime like first week of June. But we have also films that we pretty much know we're going to screen right now. Like we know some films. So it's really important to submit your film earlier, because that way we can actually start some of the behind the scenes conversations with folks to start, like, let them know, hey, your film is in the festival. This topic is very, important. So we want you to make sure that you can fly here, so there's some people that don't live in the Bay Area, but we want them to be here, and we want, the audience to be prepared to welcome them.
Now, the Oakland International Film Festival, again, September 15th through the 24th. What are some of the ways people can participate in the film festival, and what do you seek? Like, is there people where you need certain kind of help from people? What do you need?
We need, last year, because it was outdoor screenings, we really had volunteers that would come out and help set up some of the tables, and we have clothing and different things that we were selling, and just to kind of, but our screenings outdoors were mostly free screenings. So it wasn't like we were hoping, we weren't really trying to have too much responsibility. It was more like, okay, the movie's going to show, just have a seat. But hopefully we will be back in theaters this year. And so we always look for folks who like to host and chaperone people into the theaters, and just, answer questions, and just really have a very pleasant presence. And, the days, so it's a 10-day event. And so, once our schedule comes out, for the most part, they would come out and and participate in some of the panel discussions. That's the physical aspects of the festival. We have other sort of volunteers and things that are kind of coming together right now that relate to, as I mentioned earlier, where we, select certain films, and we need to have these conversations, and we need to figure out like the best venues where it's going to be hosted. So sometimes volunteers help prior to the film festival, by just, being, just going to our website and contacting us and just saying that they want to help out and support, and we'll find something for them to do.
Right.
If
And
they
what's
like
the
movie stuff,
website?
or
What's the
website is
website?
the website is oiff.org. And so that's the Oakland International Film Festival. So that's the acronym .org. And there we have a contact page, and we would love for volunteers to come out and reach out to us.
So can
I can't
ask
hear you now.
bef-
Okay, I can.
So now, before we end our session, I would like to know, who are some of the people that have inspired you? Can you give me 3 people?
That have inspired me.
So like towards this film and acting and theater, or it doesn't have to be that. It could be however they inspired you. Because I know you have a lot of inspiration from Morehouse when you were in college.
Yeah, I am inspired by I mean, I think if you ask me that question every day, I give you a different answer.
But that's wonderful.
And
That's good.
because I'm kind of, you know, I know that people like Sidney Poitier really inspired me, Harry Belafonte. One of my favorite movies was Buck and the Preacher, that I remember seeing at the Coliseum Drive-In Theater here in Oakland when I was a child. And just the some of the films that we've shown, Nzinga, which was out of France, which tells a story of Queen Nzinga from Angola. And one of my most special moments was us having the film The Spook Who Sat by the Door, and Sam Greenlee here, before he passed. And just that was very inspirational, because when you see a film that actually, is independent and it is revolutionary at the same time, then it becomes like, wow, a film can be more than just a film. I felt like I got like I was fed something to my spirit. It's not just you're just seeing something and then you go, okay, I'm gonna go about my day. You had to watch that film and have to ponder the not only what happened in the film, but the reason why it happened, and how that story was told, and then even the obstacles that Sam Greenlee went through, writing the book, making the film. Sweetback, Melvin Van Peebles' film, really was inspirational. Watermelon Man, his Watermelon Man was really such a,
Wait a minute, who played what? Was that Godfrey Cambridge that played?
That was Godfrey
I
Cambridge.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Watermelon Man was no joke.
That was definitely.
That was no joke. And then we also had a film out of France, which was done on Two Silently Overture, that we showed some years ago. And I know Danny Glover's been working on a Two Silently Overture for some time, but just to say that there's so many powerful, you feel like film is such like the chosen media to use, the medium to use to bring change. I think that if Shakespeare wrote everything that they say he wrote, if he were living today, he would be making films. You know what I mean? So I'm just really inspired by, a plethora of filmmakers and stories that are being told, that really oftentimes showcase the underdog, being able to, have control over their community, to build them, towards independence.
Wow, I mean, you really named some incredible films. And when you said Watermelon Man, I'm thinking, oh my to goodness. I remember the first time I saw that, I said, "Whoa, I hope this never happens."
Yeah. Now,
do you watch Turner Classic Movies? I can't think of the African-American woman that's on there right now. She is phenomenal. where before a movie comes on, she'll kind of dissect it and talk about it. Her and this other Black guy, they have this too. And they talked about what they were talking about were how we were depicted in the films. Remember when,
Right.
what's his name? What's the Wayans brothers' name who did the movie?
Damien.
Bamboozle. When they did Bamboozle.
That's Robert Townsend.
Oh,
No. That's the Wayans brothers. You're right.
Okay. Well, and maybe Robert Townsend.
I was thinking about Hollywood Shuffle, but that was Hollywood Shuffle. But Bamboozle was Damian Wayans, I think.
Yes, right. Because you know what? I actually had met, what's the little Davidson? What's the actor's name?
Tommy Davidson.
Tommy Davidson. Leno and I met him at Macy's, and he sat down and had lunch with us. And so I talked to him, because you'll see behind me, I actually, we collect memorabilia.
Okay, yeah.
And so when I asked him, I said, Tommy, what was it like being in Bamboozle? And he was like, oh, it was fantastic, da, 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 da. And I said, well, you know about Willie Lynch, right? And he looked at me and he goes, who's Willie Lynch? And I looked at him, I said, how could you play a movie like that and you don't know who Willie Lynch is? I said, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to do you the favor to have you look it up. I said, but it's very important, especially for that role that you played, that you know about Willie Lynch. And he just kind of looked perplexed. And I'm praying that he hears this, and I hope that he has looked it up. And for anybody in that audience that doesn't know about Willie Lynch, you really should. But anyway, so she talks about, you know, the black face and Al Jolson and all of those guys and all of that kind of stuff. And I really think we need to keep talking about that and presenting that. So maybe, I don't know how you can incorporate that into what you're doing, but that is something that should not get lost.
I agree. The letter that Willie Lynch wrote to divide, to basically give the steps of how to keep us in captivity was, there's some folks who say that was made up. There's an argument to say there really was no.
No, it is not made up.
but as you read the letter, you're like, okay, check off. That's being done.
Yep.
That's being done.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's being done. And so, I do agree with you. And I really enjoy watching some of those older films.
And that's what she was saying. That's exactly my point, where she was saying, you know what, don't get angry at it, because this is how they saw us. Even like when Fred Astaire did a salute to Bill Robinson, because that's who taught him how to tap dance. And this is what people don't know. Right. So when he did the salute to Bojangles, he dressed up in blackface. And this horrific looking costume.
Sure.
And what she was saying is that Bojangles didn't dress like that. He was impeccable the way he dressed. And why Fred Astaire felt the need to do that. But see, that's their way of keeping us in place. That was their way of keeping it. Anyway, so please, whenever you get a chance to watch Turner Classic, look out for her, because especially when they do that one on memorabilia, Judy Garland, you should see how many people actually participated in that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mentioned to you that one of our venues is called Jeffrey's Inner Circle. It used to, before it was called Jeffrey's, it was called the Athenian Nile Hall. And in the basement of Jeffrey's, they have books that show this secret kind of society that was black-faced, white-faced. I mean, I have pictures of people like Bill Walsh, who was the coach of the 49ers, you know, participating in these events where all you had were pretty much black waiters, but they were people with the whole white face and dancing on stage. And so it was not long ago, you know, just yesterday, that this kind of culture has been the way that we've been not only depicted in film, but there's a film that we showed last year. You know her, Sushel. She does, she's in San Francisco. She was doing Mary Ellen Pleasant impersonations, discussions. Mary Ellen Pleasant was this very wealthy Black woman who actually had a, what do you call it? A house of, what do you call it? Like a madam kind of house.
Okay.
and she
A house of ill repute.
yeah, there you go. And then she would have that money, and she was sending money to John Brown for in Harper's Ferry, right? For his rebellion in Harper's Ferry. And so her name is Seychelle Bibbs, who plays, but she also had a film that was a documentary that showed some of the I guess the traveling, I want to call it's a style of singing that Black women were doing, and they were really well known for doing this, but they weren't allowed to be in certain places until a certain period of time, and because they wanted them to do the Bojangle thing, but not the what's her name, Leontyne Price.
Leontyne Price, yes.
Yes. And so you have, but there were beautiful voices that would ring this type of singing, but they were like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, you're supposed to be doing this other, you know what I mean?
Right, they want you to do buffoonery.
Right. And that's another part of seeing these old films, because sometimes when we made our own films, we would show ourselves in the true light, which was why, like, even the film The Spook Sat by the Door, they thought they were funding another film, and he had I guess another script, and he got them to fund it, and then they end up seeing the movie later. They're like, wait a minute, we funded this movie? And it was like, and so, to some extent, we gotta, use what we get sometimes to do the incredible thing, the right thing, right? So.
Well, I mean, it's such a history, man. We can go on and on. This is such a rich conversation, David. I have really enjoyed having you as a guest.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait to see what happens with the film festival, and I'll see if my husband and I can actually get involved and help you in some kind of way.
Yes. Thank you.
Budding film person too. He's doing his thing.
Oh, very
well.
good.
Yeah.
Very good. I can't hear you now, though. You went.
Okay. I think it'd be more so him connecting with you.
Okay, very good.
See if I can get him to connect.
Okay.
But anyways, again, thank you for coming on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. Remember, tell them when that film festival again. When is it? And give them the website. Okay,
it's September the 15th through the 24th of this year, 2022. And the website is oiff.org.
Look for volunteers, looking for venues, and any other kind of support you're willing to provide, right?
That's right. Looking forward to having you all participate. And if you can't come out, you can maybe see it from your favorite couch, or that big favorite chair that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay.
And to my listening audience, thank you for listening to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and come back to see who's next. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Take care now.